Hi there, it's almost spring here in New York, but not quite yet. So I wanted to give you an update on my banana plants. And I know it's looking very sad, right? But what if I told you that this banana plant actually looks perfect to me? It is as healthy as can be. There's no rot, there's no issues. This is in winter storage right now, so you don't want it to actively be growing. That would be pretty weird because temperatures are just barely above freezing in my garage where this has been sitting all winter long. And bananas are tropical divas. What do I mean by that? Well, they require lots of heat, lots of sunshine. Just in general, they don't do well as houseplants because their requirements are for it to be summer forever, basically. But here's the thing about divas. They need their beauty sleep. I'm gonna get back to this one, which is one of my most cold tolerant bananas. But first, I'm gonna take you back inside and show you the characteristics of a banana plant that make it possible to store these tropical plants. Banana plants are often mistakenly called banana trees, and that's really doing them a disservice because bananas don't have any wood on their stems, which makes it really incredible that they get as big as they do. In fact, bananas are considered the largest herb in the world. Herbs have this very fleshy kind of stalk that after it flowers, it dies to the ground. That's what happens with bananas. Banana plants form colonies. The mother plant produces the flower with all of the fruit, and then that one dies to the ground, and others take over, their little babies. So we actually have 3 pseudostems. They're not quite stems, they're sort of modified, and they're not quite trunks either. And anyway, this is a really important feature on banana plants because basically all of the energy that the plant needs to get through the winter dormancy period is hidden inside the pseudostem and the corms, which are underground. So basically you can cut this plant back all the way to the ground if you want to. If you want fruit, like I do with this tropical fruiting one, it was sold as a Viente Cohol variety, which is supposed to be one of the fastest producing varieties. Since I've had it for multiple years now, I'm starting to think it was mislabeled, but either way, there are thousands of different types of banana plants, and this one, if you want to get it to fruit, or any variety, it really requires that this pseudostem does not get cut back. It doesn't freeze to the ground, it doesn't get damaged in any way, because you need multiple years of growth on the pseudostem, at least in my climate. In the tropics, it takes maybe like a year or two. But in a northern climate where you only have a few months of good growth, it takes a couple of years for this to get big enough to actually mature, produce its fruit and its flowers. And so anyway, you want to save the whole pseudostem, but you could cut it back and put this plant into storage. Now, because this is a tropical fruiting variety, it stays inside my house where I like to kind of keep the temperature to about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold for most people, but I like it cold. And for those of you who are on the Celsius scale, which is most of the world, that's about 15 degrees Celsius. I got you. Meteorologists do Celsius too, but most of us in the US don't. Anyway, 60 degree house, 70 would be kind of the limit to keep this dormant. There are thousands of different types of banana plants, and not all of them can stay asleep for the winter time. This one is called Siam ruby. It's a rare, kind of hard to find banana plant, at least, and it doesn't really like to go to sleep during the winter time. It actually probably wouldn't even survive it. And the reason why is because that pseudostem I was talking about on this variety is very weak. A lot of sun's required to actually keep it alive. A lot of water, a lot of heat, all required to keep this one alive. But I do think that some of what I have read on the internet about the Siam ruby banana is sort of overstated about how tropical its requirements are. I have read so many articles before getting this that it's so tropical, it won't survive inside a house. It needs to be like 80, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, over 30 Celsius for it to survive. And I'm like, that's pretty intense because I keep my house cooler. Our summers take a long time to heat up in New York. Is this going to be even worth growing? Anyway, turns out though that some of what I had learned about the Siam ruby banana really only applies to when it is a very small seedling. Now that this is a bigger plant, it's actually doing okay in my house, which, like I said, I keep on the cooler side. I keep my house below about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a little bit above 15 Celsius. It's not very, very warm in here. I do need grow lights to keep it actively growing because, again, that pseudostem on this one is very weak, so it just doesn't have the energy that it needs to survive the winter. I mean, look at how different this banana is than the one that I just showed you. Do you see how, oh my gosh, this whole entire area is just aphid city right now. But look at how many plants are in this colony. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like 8. Anyway, what I love about the Siam ruby banana, by the way, is how beautiful the foliage is. It is deep, deep red. Right now it's not super colorful, but it's such a pretty color during the summertime. It has little specks of green. It is like one of the most interesting foliage plants that I think you could possibly find in the plant world. But again, requirements here are a little bit on the higher needs side, so you can't let this one sleep. Alrighty, I want to talk to you about cold hardy bananas now. Like I said, bananas, they're tropical divas. Most of them are. But this one is called an Ensete Maurelli. It doesn't like freezing temperatures, but it's surprising how many cool days it not only tolerates, but thrives in. Usually my banana plants don't really start actively growing until we have days that are consistently warm outside. But this one actually prefers it to be on the cooler side. It's been in my garage all winter. It's going back in the garage after this video. I just took it outside so that way I could show you what it looks like, because it's in a very dark corner in my garage. By the way, I'm putting my coat back on because it is very cold out here right now, but it's above freezing, so I'm not worried about it. So anyway, very, very easy care here during the winter time or during the summer. It's so low maintenance. During the winter, I dug it up, barely any roots with it. All of the energy is stored inside this pseudostem. This is a very unusual banana. The Ensete Maurellis have a really thick pseudostem that stores a ton of energy, so it's very easy to overwinter these. Now, you can't overwinter them very well when they're babies, but at this size, they're pretty much indestructible. I dig it up, cut off all the leaves, tossed it into the corner of my garage. That easy. I haven't watered it. I know it may look like it's terrible right now, but it's actually thriving. It's living its best life. I mean, look at this. We've got a new leaf coming up. That's a good sign. That's a really weird sign because it has not been warm in my garage. It has been consistently cold. We have no rot. All of this is just dried up leaves, no actual rot, no mushy parts. Once you have mushy parts, it's like game over for winter storage. It is so easy for mold, rot, all of these things to settle in when you have mush on your plants in storage. And that goes for anything that you're trying to store, like elephant ears or cannas. Mush is bad, but dry leaves, that's good. So anyway, this plant, it's gonna go right back into the garage after I'm done filming this video. But a couple of really interesting things to note about the Ensete Maurelli bananas. Firstly, not a Musa. So that's a different genus. Musa and Ensetes, they are considered banana plants, but it's very weird botanically. And the reason why I say it's weird is because bananas produce banana fruits. That's kind of like the whole deal, right? But Ensetes don't. They're classified under a different genus because they don't produce fruit. You see it's kind of different looking because the stem is so much thicker too. Unfortunately, it does flower. I say unfortunately because after it flowers, just like its cousins, the Musas, it dies. But unlike its cousins, it doesn't produce babies. So it's actually kind of difficult to propagate this once it's dead and gone. You know, once it flowers, you really pretty much have to buy a new one. But you can search some videos online. Some people have been really creative and have found some successful ways to make like hundreds and hundreds of babies out of their flowering Ensete banana. Either way though, you can enjoy this for about 3 or 4 years, maybe more, before it starts to flower. I've had this for 2 years now. It's gotten big. I love the colors on the leaves. You're never gonna find any other foliage plant like this. It's just amazing how beautiful these leaves are during the summertime. I actually find that the color is really impressive during the early spring. It loves cooler weather. That also sets it apart from the Musa bananas. It prefers to grow when the weather's kind of temperate outside. So this is going to look fantastic by probably late April, early May. I'm telling you, it's going to be filled with lush foliage before any of my other banana plants are. The other banana plants will catch up because they grow so well when it's hot outside, and this one slows down a little bit when it's hot outside. But honestly, this is pretty much the perfect banana plant if you have a climate that doesn't get super hot during the summertime, especially if it doesn't get super hot during the summertime, or if you're just looking for something with unusual colors. There's some cool musas too that have unusual color. I'm actually going to very awkwardly take my phone into my dirty, disgusting, horrible looking garage to show you another really unusual Musa banana. So this one is a Sikkimensis is what it's called. You can't see the red splotches on the leaves right now because it's been in storage. I don't even know if you can see the leaves the way I've positioned this camera. But anyway, this is a absolutely endearing, gorgeous banana with red splotches on it. And this is another one that shows more coloration when it's starting off in the season. And I think the reason why is because plants naturally will produce red pigmentation to protect it from the early intense sun of springtime. You'll see that with some plants that actually, trees and things that produce their leaves during the springtime. You often get this like really cool kind of pigmentation before it turns deep green, and that is naturally going to protect it from the intense sun rays. So I've noticed this with some of my variegated bananas like the Musa Sikkimensis. This is my first year with Musa Sikkimensis. Very easy to just keep in the garage. Again, looking healthy because there's no rot, nothing like this. So these are two very hardy bananas that need to stay in my cold garage, otherwise they're going to start actively growing. And you might all be saying, I have a banana in New York and I leave it outside all year long. Well, that one is a Musa Basjoo banana. So again, we have hundreds and hundreds of different types of bananas, and out of all of those, only one of them reliably grows here in New York. Let me show you mine. All right, so the Musa Basjoo banana is basically a perennial here in New York, which is a zone 7. You could probably get these to survive in a zone 6 as well, and even colder if you mulch it. So basically, this banana has a very specialized corum. That underground stem can withstand freezing temperatures like snow, and it performs very well. So I actually did not mulch mine. You see the actual stem, this was the pseudo stem right here, totally gone. So it did not survive our 17-degree Fahrenheit night that we had this winter, which I'm just discovering with you guys now on video. But that's okay, because not all is lost. I had two pseudo stems, first of all. One of them I left uncovered, right? Because I wanted to do an experiment here with the Musa Basjoos. So the pseudo stem is not very cold tolerant. Just like any other banana, it's going to wither and die if it experiences multiple freezes. So the secret with the Musa Basjoos is that that corum, that underground stem, is frost tolerant and can survive freezing cold. So this will likely sprout back in the spring. And there are some beautiful examples of these plants in New York growing very well because they can sprout back from the ground, unlike other tropical bananas. Other tropical bananas, if that ground freezes, that's it. They're dead. You might manage to get them to come back from freeze damage to their pseudostem, to their stems above the ground. But if the ground freezes, that's it for most banana plants. So Musa Basjoo is very specialized. Anyway, so I experimented. I did one exposed, and then I had another pseudo stem that also doesn't look very good that was not exposed. So you see both of these are gone, you know. So we had a temperature of 17 degrees. We've had many freezing cold nights, and that was it for this. So will it come back? Probably. I think it will. This is where the pseudostem is. I'm just trying to see if there's any part of this that is not mush, but it's all mush. It's actually literally frozen. Like, the stem actually is frozen solid. So, well, it's not frozen solid because today is warm, but you can like feel the ice crystals in it. Anyway, I'm gonna cover this back up. We're almost done with winter, and I'm not too worried about it because, again, there's not going to be any part of this that's alive above the ground. What people do is they actually produce mulch piles over it, and that will protect the stem sometimes from freezing, but I just think that's a lot of effort, and again, I just want to see how well it does by sprouting back up. The corum gets bigger and bigger every year under the ground, so every year it sprouts back faster and you end up with a bigger plant. So that's the Musa Basjoo. I've had so many questions about why I'm going through all of the effort of bringing my banana plants inside when I could just leave them outside, and the reason why is because the only one you can leave outside is the Musa Basjoo, and I have a lot of different varieties that I grow. And that's about it. Alrighty, this video took way longer than I thought it was going to, and I hope that you were all enjoying it, because I was. And I'll talk to you all real soon. Sorry if the sun's getting in my eyes, and I'm not complaining because I'm so happy to finally see sunshine. Our winters are just so gloomy. Even a mild one like this, we just have not had a lot of sun.